Peace, beautiful people. My name is Wasaba Sidibe, and I am here to share my story. I am of African descent. Woo woo. My mother is Sierra Leonean and Nigerian, and my father is Malian and Liberian. I am from Queens, New York. I'm currently living in DC pursuing my Master's of Divinity from Wesley Theological Seminary, and I was raised by my mother alongside with 6 other siblings. The mental illness that I battle with is depression and overgeneralized anxiety, and some of what that consists of is a lot of feelings of self-doubt, unworthiness, lack of forgiveness of myself, lack of grace towards myself, being overwhelmed very often, feeling very alone, like a very deep sadness, and a very real burdening feeling like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. And in terms of my anxiety, is this constant fear of bad things happening to me or the people that I love, or experiencing sudden death or disasters. There would be times where I would literally lock myself in my room for days because of my fear of death, or times where I wouldn't go to sleep because I was afraid of possibly dying. So for a long time, a very long time, I wouldn't sleep. I didn't necessarily get a diagnosis of the mental illness that I battle with until I was about 24 years old. But now that I have information and education about it, I realized that I began to battle with these mental illnesses around the age of 14 years old. And there are like a lot of contributing factors. I am a survivor of sexual child abuse, and that experience had been very traumatic for me and has really changed the course of the ways that I exist in the world. And it affected me so much so it wasn't until I was at the age of 17 that I realized that I had had that experience. And amongst going through puberty and the adolescent stage and not necessarily knowing how to cope with that unfortunate truth and cope with the other things that were going on in my life, at that age I attempted to commit suicide. And for whatever reason, you know, I didn't die, but in a very real way, I understand what it means to be hopeless. I understand what it means to feel like the world is better off, or people are better off without you being here. And you know, coming to a space of accepting my diagnosis for me was liberating. It was very liberating to be able to name this thing that I had been battling with for 10 years, and I had no clue. You know, I just had no clue. It's not common in either African American communities or households or African households to talk about mental illness, to talk about our feelings, or to talk about anything in regards to being emotionally in tune or emotionally available. And so being in a space finally where I can say this is the thing that I battle with. You know, I got my diagnosis from going to therapy, and being able to get tools to manage it was the best decision that I have ever made in my life. Choosing to go to therapy was the best thing that I have ever done for myself, and it has completely changed the way that I think about myself or my life or my existence in this world. The first thing I want to say is that you are not alone. You know, there's a huge demographic of people in this world who battle with mental illness. your mental illness is not all of you. It is a very real part of you. It is a very real part of you that should be tended to and taken care of and nurtured. And it is important to gain practical tools in learning how to manage yourself when you have episodes or attacks, but in a very, very real and true way. It is not all of you. You are still a beautiful person. You are still a wonderful person. Another thing is that it's okay to not be okay. We kind of live in a spirit of time where we're like hyper positive, and you always have to think positive, and you always have to be positive, and life always has to be this rainbow and perfect experience, and that's just not reality at all. We all have good times, we all have bad times, we all have real struggles, and we all have real moments where we are not okay, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. You know, having a bad moment doesn't mean that you are going to have a bad day, and having a bad day doesn't mean that you have a completely bad life. And so, yeah, this is my story. You're not alone. I'm here. Millions of other people are here in this journey with you. You are absolutely loved. You are absolutely seen. The fact that you are here counts for something. Your life, your story, your tears, your pain, everything about you is so significant. All of it matters.